Okay, hey Lillian, I think we can start, huh?
Yes, we can start over now.
Okay, awesome.
So we will. Good afternoon, everybody. We are having our Zoom meeting for the 9th edition of Transforming Education series. And we will be having the call streaming on YouTube. And also we have the call recorded. It's only nice to note that. I will just lay out a few ground rules. I will just lay out a few ground rules for our audience today here. One, I need to state the fact that we will all be muted for the purposes of avoiding interruptions. But at the same time, we have the chat section on the bottom of your screen. There's an icon there for chat. We can be able to share resources, comment, and also put in questions for speakers there on the chat section. So we are all able to participate and interact in the same place. So we have 3 speakers in our series today, and each speaker will be having 7 minutes for presentation. And later on, we will have questions to the speakers. We have questions that our participants had asked prior while registering, and also the questions that we will pick from the comment, the chat session. So basically, that's what we will have there for today. And just before I hand over to our moderator, I have a poll here that I would request us to participate. So kindly participate on this poll that has just been launched. I will take like 20 seconds for the poll. Vote on the poll. Thank you. Keep on participating. So okay, so I'll end the poll now, and I'll share the results that we have here. So the poll was on how do you perceive the importance of character and development in schools, and I see 100% says very important. So again, we will get to see more on that. Again, we have another poll, the last poll for as we start the meeting. What do you expect to gain from the Zoom meeting? Kindly also participate on this one for another 20 seconds before we begin. We have 15 more seconds on the same. Let's see what our expectations are today. Okay, so I'll end the poll in the next 5 seconds or 3 seconds, and I'll share the results. So here we are. Okay, this is a great distribution. People want to discover innovative solutions. There's networking opportunities and also getting new knowledge here. So we hope the meeting will get to meet our expectations here. Thank you all for participating in this poll today. So as we are, I will hand over to our moderator, Dr. Tony Divine, our Vice President Education at Global Peace Foundation, to take us through and to invite our speakers for the day. Dr. Tony Divine.
Yes, thank you very much, Lillian. And just welcome everybody to our webinar today on the Transforming Education series. We've been running this series for all of last year and all of this year so far. Our theme today is very, very important theme, educating for creativity and talent development in the 21st century. We have a great panel of speakers who are going to give and share their wisdom, their experience on how do we actually develop this. So the goal of this, of character and creativity a curriculum, you could say, is to develop the whole person for future success, and also to nurture the core values as a guidance system to guide skills and new knowledge for the greater benefit of humanity in a rapidly changing world. And also to develop the competencies, of things like creativity, problem solving, communication, And of course, we need great relationships too. We want our students to be good at relationships, empathy, social, emotional, and so on. So let's start with our first speaker, presenter, panelist here today. It's a great honor to introduce Mrs. Annie Gitau. She's the newspapers and education manager for National Media Group. She's also a journalist and also an educationalist. And her theme today, her topic on this theme will be 21st century media frameworks that promote creativity and talent in education. So Annie, welcome. It's all yours now.
Thank you, Dr. Devine. Thank you very much for this. Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Annie Gitau. I work for the Nation Media Group. I run a program called Newspapers in Education, where we take newspapers to schools around Kenya. We've been doing that for close to 10 years now, so that the children learn how to read for themselves and they develop competency in their reading skills and understanding of questions and whatever they read. So how does media come into the Transforming Education series? What are we doing in the 21st century for the children who are creative, and how do we enhance their talents? So in this particular avenue, we have the creativity itself and the talents, we have the enablers, and we have the media. So in creativity and talent, gifted children often develop creativity from the environment around them. So what we need to do is put them in that environment, or create an environment that is good for them, that is conducive for them to be able to develop their creativity. If we put them in an assembly line where we think that they all need to do the same thing at the same time every day, then what we're doing is creating a situation where these children are not creative anymore. They suppress their talents because they are forced to fit into an assembly line where you must do this at this time, this must be done at this time, this exam must be taken at this time, this is the kind of questions we ask and we expect these answers. But the new competency-based curriculum in Kenya is already teaching learners from grade 1 to 5 how to think out of the box. And because of this, they are given problem-solving activities. They are asked to think for themselves. And when you give a child a chance to think for themselves, what happens is the creative side then comes out, and they're able to give you different answers to one question. All you need to do is give them that time, nurture the environment around them, and encourage them as their enablers, as their guardians and the teachers, to be able to do this. Now, the enablers are supposed to nurture these learners by asking them to perform tasks or think outside the box. This will teach them how to go out, gather information, formulate solutions. You can ask them to reach out to their classmates. You can tell them to talk to them with words of encouragement and find out in what creative ways they're able to do this. Ask them to do a task and then leave them to it. Don't tell them exactly what to do, but you will find that the creativity comes out. In the form of talents, the activities that were really the Kenya education system would focus on were usually sporting activities and talent. So if you're good in soccer and that is your talent, you had an avenue. But if you were good in piano and maybe you were not in a private school or in a school that teaches piano lessons, then that talent never came out. What is happening right now with the CBC program, the curriculum-based program, what is happening right now is that there are opportunities for these things to come out, for the talents to come out, for these children to get an opportunity to be taught piano, to go skating, to learn how to not only knit, but also learn how to code. The enablers also need to challenge the belief system in the supernatural for the children, because some children are very reserved and we want them to come out. We want them to know that whatever talent they may have and whatever creativity they have that is unique, that they need to bring it out, not hide it, and not be afraid to actually go out and do what they're supposed to do. Now, how does the media come into all this? There's a saying I love, and I think I have in one of the Transforming Education series, I've actually used it. There will come a time when you believe everything has come to an end, but that will be the beginning, just the beginning. So what media has progressively done is we have transformed into the digital space. Before, if you wanted news, you could get it as a hard copy paper, or you listen to your radio or your television. And that was in an era that is past now. So because of the children we have right now, and of the consumers we have in the industry right now, we have transformed it to the digital space where you can get an e-paper, where if you have a column for children in the newspaper, when it goes on digital space, you ask them to do something and then to send it online. In our days, you had to fill out the hard copy newspaper, go to the post office, post it, and then send it, and then wait to hear in a similar fashion from the post office when the letter came, whether you qualified or you did not qualify, whether if it was a competition for winning something, whether you won or you did not win. So what we're doing is we have moved into the digital space, and we have news that is related to children, entertainment, ideas for younger people, niche sporting. When I talk about niche sporting, is the acrobatics, skating, what these children are doing that is unique. And before we'd think there is no opportunity for that in our space. But that has become the norm now. Since COVID happened, it transformed a lot of things, and some of them for good. And we thank the people who actually transformed the situation. Rather than saying we've always done things this way, let us wait for the pandemic to be over, then we can continue. So online learning became the norm. And we have seen that it has actually helped the children. They're more open-minded. They look at things in a different light. They ask questions. It's not before where they just read a book, and when you asked a question, they answered according to what they had read. Nowadays, they question everything. They want to go out, they want to learn for themselves. So media has done this, and we have covered the stories. When you look at what is in the media space right now, both digital and both traditional media, you will realize there are a lot of stories about children, a lot of stories about young people who are doing business and how they can do startup businesses. Before, it was about the big corporates. What are they doing in this space? Nobody ever bothered about the small SMEs or whoever is starting a new business. Right now, that is where we are. And we're glad to say that we have actually brought on new readers for the news, new viewers, new listeners, by actually now being in the space where they are, where the younger generation is. So thank you. I will take questions at the end of this. I hope that I have been able to address the question of media being in the education space and reaching out to the children in this series.
Thank you very much, Annie. Really good points you made there about the competency-based curriculum, kids thinking out of the box. And really great that you're sharing positive stories about young people in the media. We need lots more of that. We unfortunately get so much bad news about young people, right, in the media. But it's great to be sharing good news. And I think what you're talking about here, right, is student agency. This is the belief that students have the will, the ability to positively influence their own lives and the world around them, and the capacity to set a goal, reflect on that, act responsibly, and to affect change. So I think everything we can do is to stimulate that kind of student agency and cultivate, that creativity. So Annie, thanks very much. Let's go to our next speaker. It's a great honor to have Mrs. Wanjala Sio. She's a teacher and entrepreneur, and she's also the author of the golden concept of the law of success. Wanjala will speak about integrating character and values in education. So Mrs. Wanjala, it's all yours now.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Devin. Lillian, you have my presentation?
Yes, just like 30 seconds, we are sharing it.
Okay. So as we wait for her to bring it up, we have come a long way with the Global Peace Foundation, because their values really relate very well with what we have been talking about. So, oh, sorry. You have lost me?
No, we can hear you fine, and your presentation is now showing.
Oh, okay, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
So
fine.
let's start here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Wanjala Sio. Education is our passion, as you can see. This is a presentation to support the Global Peace Foundation signature initiative. And we are here to try and say that we need to mandate character, not just to put it in so many subjects, but mandating it as a very crucial fundamental ingredient. So we all know what talent is. Talent is this outstanding natural aptitude or ability or skill that needs to be nurtured. And there are people who don't know they have a talent, or maybe they have talent that they don't know how to progress it. And then of course, creativity is inventions, but it's not just inventions, it's also creating new things, making things better, solving solutions, navigating difficult situations like navigating through COVID so that you really don't die, don't kill yourself. In other words, navigating for gainful, if it's employment or gainful purpose. Now, we say character is a universal foundation that transcends time, space, gender, religion, economics. And here I want to quote an American president who lived 100 years ago, who said this, that nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not, because nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Here, genius will not. We have unrewarded geniuses. Education will not, as we can see, the world is full of educated people who are not successful. So persistence and determination are the ones that we are going to talk about here, which is really part and parcel of the character and values. Now, so what is character? Are you with me? Hey, am I lost?
Yes, we are. Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
Sorry,
Yes,
sorry.
we are.
Please kind of go ahead.
Okay, okay. Sorry. So, sorry. So for us in our program, we have said character is the third side of the coin. And our agenda is to keep increasing and enlarging and strengthening that side of the coin. Because one side is academics and talent, and the other side is creativity and imagination. So if you have academics, all academics, and you have no character, then you really you don't grow. Now, so we want to have character that can identify and develop a talent as an asset that will appreciate in value. We also want to develop creativity, which can solve challenges and suitably and gainfully, especially to move with the changing times. In the Economic Forum of 2017, they said that 65% of the children entering school now will work in jobs that are not even there. So let's not pay too much attention to academics so much. Let's go to character. Okay, generally, this is where we are. And we are saying here, talent and creativity cannot develop under these circumstances. So what do we do is the next one. Go to the next slide. Hello? So we are talking about this concept of character, and we are saying that the government of Kenya and Global Peace Foundation actually did a very successful study that proved beyond reasonable doubt that the induction of character in schools improves the overall school culture. So as I said, implementation has generally been the challenge, like many other challenges we have had. And here Professor Laban Ayiro said that the problem with developing countries is that we view education as a social service, not as an economic variable that must be provided for and accounted for. So what do we do so that we can account for this variable? And before we reach there, we want to talk about the concepts that build character, or that we can term as character. We have self-confidence building. A lot of young people are lacking enthusiasm, self-esteem, or self-belief. And unless you have self-belief, then you really don't self-apply yourself. We also are talking about definiteness of purpose, how you can create vision in whatever it is you are doing, whether it's even athletics. If you're going to run for 200 meters, then what do you do so that you become a 200-meter athlete? Then initiative, for example, how do you own an idea? And how do you pursue it so that that idea can give you something gainful? We have imagination, innovation, creativity, persistence, as that President of America said, self-control, teamwork. This is what we are talking about as concepts of character. So we come here now. We are saying we have part solution so that we are not on business as usual. That's why we are doing this presentation today, to try and give a solution, and we even say we have a duty, so that we create human capital that has character and values, is dependable, is considered a national asset, and also a world heritage. So we say our solution is, we have put this character and creativity program that was proved beyond reasonable doubt by the Kenya government and Global Peace Foundation. We have put it in a book form, but it's actually a program that teachers and students can follow, so that they can use character that will help to open their minds, to empower their minds on how to go into businesses and renewal sources of energy, entrepreneurship and leadership, so that they use their mind to think rather than a warehouse just for storing facts. And these days, facts, you get them from Google anyway. The next one, please. We are just about to finish. So we are saying, if someone is listening, now we are on the 9th edition, so that we are not just making presentations and not going anywhere. We are saying time is now due for financial institutions, business entities, and others to pay more attention to the development of the factor of production that is more important than building bridges and building roads, the factor of production, which is human capital. So we, as Success for Africa, as PAI International Education Services, we are looking for serious partners to see how we can put this in, or how we can bring it back. We can bring this program to schools, just so that we are not meeting and tomorrow we talk more and talk more and talk some more. Last slide, please. So we are saying, we, especially we in Kenya, we are in Africa, if we are going to be masters of our destiny, we must be masters of the ideas that influence that destiny, in the sense that the Kenya government has gone into the competent-based program. So this is part and parcel of the complement that we are working at to bring, or rather to enhance, the character and creativity. Because as we see, it is really the third side of the coin. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Wanjola. I really appreciate this emphasis on character. Character is actually the foundation of leadership. And, we do need character and values to be cultivated in our young people, so that, that can guide things like creativity. Creativity is value neutral. It's really important, but it needs to be guided by good values and good character. That's the real value add. And we're starting to see a lot more discourse on this important dimension. Mostly we talk about skills, but those skills need to be guided very well. And also, character is really the counter to corruption, right? This is where we want to be adding that new positive long-term value. So thank you very much, Mrs. Wanjola. Now we'll go to our next speaker. It's my really great pleasure to introduce my good friend, Mr. Indamuli Kahi. He's the chairman of the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association. And he will talk about another dimension, which is the role of teachers in founding an attractive environment for developing the creativity and promoting talent. Mr. Indamuli, welcome, and it's all yours. Good to have you here again.
Thank you, Tony. Sorry, last week I was not able to join you. I had network challenges. I hope I'm being heard today.
Oh, you're really well. We can hear you very well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, Tony, and my co-presenters. I've listened to them. I want to just very quickly look at what is the role of the teacher in all this. In whatever they have said, the teacher is key. Teachers create the mood and the tone of the classroom. Positive classroom cultures that invite learning are very important. And that is why there is a concept today in Kenya that is spearheaded by the SEMASE, that we say we must create inviting schools, that the environment the schools provide should be inviting to the students. Likewise, the teachers must create an inviting classroom through the methods that they use to deliver their lessons, through the way they handle the students, that allows the students to interact with the content, to interact with their peers, and also interact with you as a teacher. But in order to do this, the teacher today requires to do one or two things. One is to change the mindset. Changing the mindset of the teacher himself or herself first on how to handle students is important. And then this will lead to changing the mindset of the children. For example, depending on what concept the teacher would like to teach the students, how does this teacher create his classroom? The way we see our classrooms today, we have the, how do you call them? Looking forward. The teacher is seen as the source of knowledge. And therefore students will sit facing the teacher, listening to the teacher, and they become very passive. It will be important now, in order for us to provide an environment that enhances creativity, classroom setups must change. We must be able to be flexible in creating and designing a class that allows students to take charge of their own learning. In other words, we are saying teachers must provide an enabling environment that allows the students to think about a problem, come up with solutions. The danger we have, and especially in Kenya today, we fear students to fail because of the system of education that we have been following, which requires everybody to pass. But you see, if we are expecting everybody to pass and we don't want them to fail, then we block the thinking mind of this child. We direct the child to think the way our news reporter said earlier, that they fit in an assembly line, that they must move in that particular direction. But time has come that we need to allow freedom of thinking. Let these students think, let them fail in attempting to find a solution to a problem. Then from there, they would learn. And that kind of learning would be more permanent. Teachers must set up learning activities that allow students to explore their creativity. This is very relevant because even in wanting to build a character of a child, that character will be well built if the child is also allowed to be creative. Because you cannot come up with a positive character and you do not value creativity. So the value of creativity should also be celebrated. Not only as we have today, we only celebrate those who are scoring high grades, but we have put in the periphery those who are creative. So we are happy that with the new curriculum, the competency-based curriculum, this will be allowing students to be able to be creative. I look at the class grade 3 and grade 4 students, the kind of tasks they are given to take home, to discuss with their parents or find a solution and bring back. By the time these children reach the junior secondary and senior secondary, we will have created a child who is able to think critically, who is able to be to solve problems whenever they are presented to him. So it is good that we change. As we change our curriculum, we are also changing the way the teachers handle the students. The pedagogical skills. And that is why if you look at the concept of STEM schools in Kenya today, they are asking schools to provide what we call the marker space. And this marker space is just an open room that allows students to get in with the gadgets and a problem, and the student is left there to think of how, if it is a science concept, how he can come up with either a machine or a way to solve that through computer. Let the student think, and that is the right way to go. The issues of prior learning in Kenya have never been considered. If you look at when the student comes to class, we always assume they are empty, and therefore it is the teacher to provide. Time has come that teachers must start inquiring and finding out prior learning this child may have had, either by interaction, now that there is technology, by access to the internet, this child is coming to school with some knowledge. So determine prior learning. That's why I was happy listening to the president in his speech yesterday. He gave a directive to the Ministry of Education and the Qualification Authority of Kenya that they must come up with a framework in which they bring together prior learning to assist in building up on the knowledge of students that allows them to transit to the next level. So prior learning is very important, and teachers must begin changing to understand this. I've already mentioned that we need to allow students to take risks and maybe fail in finding a solution, start again until they are able to get that solution. Also, the use of entrepreneurs. The first speaker talked about that idea of the SMEs not having been very popular. To invite entrepreneurs and innovators into our classrooms whenever we are discussing a concept that requires the knowledge of entrepreneurship, so that these experts can share with the children and then leave the children to now begin innovating and finding solutions to this. This should be enhanced. At the moment, it is very little in our Kenyan schools. Teachers must learn to remove constraints to creativity and give students space and a framework in which they can be creative. For example, in a literature class, the students can write plays around their own fantasy stories that they have. But we do not allow this. We stick to set texts and expect them to give us answers in a particular direction. So even the training now of teachers as we enter into the CBC, the training of teachers should change that allows teachers to give an opportunity to allow the learner to also be in control of their learning. As I conclude, imagination and creativity are the traits that fuel the future. They both serve to inspire students and should be integrated into every part of learning, in planning and in designing learning for students. So as teachers, plan with their knowledge that the children too have the ability to participate in their own learning. Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndamuli. I totally agree with everything you said here today. The teacher is on the front line. And I think the role of the teacher really has to be transformed to be effective. To become, we want to see our teachers becoming designers of learning rather than just transmitters of knowledge. And, when we talk about values, when we talk about creativity, this has to be modeled. So, our teachers modeling those good characteristics, good character, and really being the person to motivate our students to engage. And I really like about this point about prior learning. I think this goes to the whole idea of personalized education, because each person is unique, right? So yeah, this prior learning and more personalized education. So yeah, a lot of positive things we can be doing to really prepare our young people for the 21st century. We've received quite a lot of questions during registration, also in the chat. So we'll try to get through as many of them as we can. I'd just like to ask our speakers, our great speakers here today, just maybe to limit your response to 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, so we can get through as many of these as we can. So Annie, the first question is for you. So the question is, how can media houses promote character and talent development and some of the criteria that they have to abide to?
All right, I think that has already been answered in what Mr. Ndamuli has said, that we need to model, even as media houses, the same way the teachers are modeling for their students, what needs to be done. They're not expecting set answers. The media houses promote character and development by being in that space and presenting news and modeling it in such a way that it is consumed for the benefit of this person, that at the end of the day, we are not telling them what to do or expecting them to do things a certain way or think a certain way, but that we are asking them to think out of the box. So what do you think about this news item? So that then even what we put in the news is something that can be, a child can relate to. It's not always negative news that is there, but there's positive news as well, that we need to look at the people who are doing good in society, not only those who are breaking the law and putting that out as news, but also those who are doing good in the society, and we put that as news, and in that way we model character and develop some of the talents that these children have by bringing news that is talent centered, where people can come on board and talk about the talents they have in different industries and what that has done for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Annie. Let's go to Mrs. Wanjala next. So Mrs. Wanjala, how do you instill moral leadership in young talented learners who find themselves at a crossroads on whether to stick to education, the education curriculum, or pursue their interests in other ways?
Okay, thank you. For me, I responded that they should really be encouraged to stay in school, because part of character building is perseverance, so that they don't see something bad in school and just say, I'm quitting because I just want to go and play football, or I want to go and maybe be a mechanic. I'm not saying that is bad, but they should just be encouraged to stay in school, because after all, you're only in school for a season. And there are things you can only get from school: living together, learning to live with people maybe who are not so good. Like maybe I'd say, okay, I don't want, like say bullying is good, but you learn to navigate the bad parts of life that you may find in school. So for me, the traits of character you benefit just by being in school. Young people should be encouraged to be in school, even if they have some interest that they want to pursue. They can pursue after school. After all, after school, 18 years, they can still start from there and pursue. That's my take.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Wanjala. Mr. Ndamuli, you spoke a lot about, the importance of creativity, talent development, and so on. But this question is like, what is the current status being used by teachers in Kenya schools to fully address and promote character and talent development? Mr. Ndamuli? Maybe
He's
you're muted. Are you muted?
Sorry,
I
I
think
was
it's
muted.
muted.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you. At the moment, as I was saying, we may not be having the standards that we need to use to measure the creativity or innovativeness of the students. And that is why, as you heard me mention, that there'll be need for us to rethink teacher training that will provide the teachers with the tools and with the knowledge in which they can use to measure this. At the moment, I may say it is from the teacher's own innovation, the teacher's own ways of identification that has helped many of them identify a child through their own creativity and try to support that. But general standards in Kenya, I don't think at the moment we've developed them, but we are in the process. As a member of the task force on the implementation of the CBC, I think this was discussed a lot because at senior secondary, these children are going to be allowed to follow different pathways depending on their interests. And therefore, there is a pathway, the creativity pathway, talent pathway that needs to have standards developed. How will we be able to pick out these students that will go for this talent pathway in case they choose to want to go to that pathway? So that is still in the process. I would say it's work under process.
Yes, this is. Thank you, Mr. Ndamuli. Yeah, this is a huge transformation that's underway, right? From the traditional transmitting of knowledge, right, which has been the case for many, many decades, even centuries, to a more entrepreneurial approach to education. So it's going to require a lot of effort by everybody, right, in the chain. And I think too, like the more we can have our teachers who are incredibly talented in their own right to create great teams so that they can unlock and come up with good ideas on how to do this. Really strong advocate of teacher teams of all different types and kinds. So yeah, really, we have a lot of work to do for sure. Okay, so Annie, back to you now. So media influences public perception. It hence shapes what the society perceives to be right or wrong. So how can media platforms work with schools and society to enhance character and talent development, which does not go against the norms and culture of society?
Okay. Media influences public perception, and that influence is called the agenda setting theory. And basically, the media determines what we think and talk about. So if we talk about one thing long enough, everybody will be talking about it. And this sets the agenda for socioeconomic and political discussions. What that means is that media is basically the gatekeeper of what people are talking about out there. By doing this, by setting the agenda, by putting certain news items in the news, we influence the opinion of the audience, and we influence how they think and what they talk about. Now, when we go to schools, we need to realize that whereas culture is a bed on which dreams are made, they are achieved by social networks, by going to these schools and doing features about what the children are doing, whether they're planting trees to help the environment, whether they are taking up new roles, like let's say they go to the local community and they decide to clean the market like they're doing through the CBC. What we put out there determines what these children and what their parents will talk about. So what we need to do is enhance and do this at a higher level. so that then we can influence schools and school-going children. Nation Media Group has a platform called Junior Sport, where there's a pullout on Monday that is basically about what is going on in schools. And it's usually not academic, although we carry exam questions, model exam questions on various days. But it also talks about the talents they have. Children who can sing very well, children who have made sure that they have planted fruits in their trees, passion fruit, and they can actually consume these fruits. Children who have gone an extra mile and participated in other things that are not based with the 844 system. And that is what we are doing for schools and for the children in our media space right now.
Thank you very much, Annie. I think this is really important. That that young people, young students who are doing really good things, right, in school, in their community, can be profiled like this, and that their effort, of going beyond the norm can be shared. They can be great models for other young people to emulate and follow. We unfortunately have so many bad models. So enhancing and increasing and profiling those good models by ordinary students, I think, is a really, really great thing. Mrs. Wanjala, this one is for you. How can we make our learners think about entrepreneurship while they're still in school? And what kind of pedagogy can facilitate this?
Okay, thank you very much. I think entrepreneurship should be something like hands-on. I can give an example of, we have a neighbor slum here, and the school is on kind of less than an acre. But we buy tomatoes from that school, we get milk from that school, and that school does not buy gas. They cook their maize and beans with using the produce from the cows they keep. So I should think that schools should mandate business programs like greenhouses. A lot of schools have big compounds, like 80% of the schools in the rural. They should have greenhouses where they produce their own vegetables and cost them. And I think students should also run canteens. They could also go into water purification like the Moi Forces Academy, which was in the Global Peace Foundation pilot program. They went into entrepreneurship and started purifying water and bottling it. Then we should go into milk production. And like in our program, we say once a week, for example, should be business days where entrepreneurs and professionals come to schools to speak to students about the different entrepreneurial programs that are out there. And I even think students should be made to dress up in the careers they want to, that they aspire. So that once a week or maybe once a month, students should come in overalls if they want to go into motor mechanics or if you want to be doctors, so that the pedagogical area is made more practical and more visual. That's my thinking.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mrs. Wanjala, you mentioned Moi Forces Academy. I remember several years ago, Global Peace Foundation worked with Moi Forces Academy to launch Leap Hubs. These are like entrepreneurship incubators in high schools. That was the very first one, the first Leap Hub. It's now, it expanded to many, many schools after that. And what was really amazing about this was the teams of young people. There were like teams of about 5 or so, and they come up with amazing ideas, right, to solve real world problems in and around Africa and Kenya, right? In the area of the medical space, in technology, they wrote and developed apps, and they, were able to use some laptops and connectivity to connect with potential customers to do research. It was like unbelievably inspiring. It was like it created a center of excellence in those schools. So I think more efforts along these lines with these incubators can help students who have ideas, right, to develop them. So, Mr. Indamuli, this question is for you now. Do you think the move by the government to upscale Kenya's education curriculum from 844 to competency-based curriculum will address the shortage of talent development among learners in Kenya?
To a large extent, I would say yes. And this is being seen from what the children in grade 3 and 4 are doing at the moment. The kind of tasks they are given, and they are left to work on their own, sometimes with the help of their parents, and come up with solutions to solve future challenges. I know at the moment, because of many times resistant to change, we have an outcry, particularly from parents who are now saying, are we the ones learning, or is the students to learn? Because most of the tasks, the children go home and they want their parents to help them. But with the time, this will definitely change. So I strongly believe that the new curriculum will be able to churn out students who are more creative, students who have problem-solving skills, and students who can come up with innovative ideas that will help this nation to solve certain challenges that we are facing. So I totally agree.
Mr. Indamuli, my understanding is that the competency-based curriculum is now being rolled out in grades 1 to 5. So what about in secondary schools? What's the plan to roll this out in secondary schools?
Yes, at the moment, it has not yet reached secondary schools. We are now going to roll it out in grade 5. The students in grade 5 are still at home until July, when we will be beginning the new year. And then in 2 years' time, we will be having them getting to junior secondary schools. And junior secondary is anchored in the current secondary schools. I'm aware that the Teacher Service Commission is currently preparing online training materials for teachers at the secondary level. So I believe between now and 2023, when the first class will be joining junior secondary school, the teachers will have gone through some preparation at secondary level. What we call syllabuses that are required for junior secondary, they are now at the development stage at the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. I am aware that we have a team of teachers currently somewhere in Kabarak University working on those syllabuses for junior secondary. So I believe we will be in time. If they can be out by next year, then the teachers will be able to interact with them. Yeah.
So just a follow-up question here now with the school principals that you interact with, right, with Kesha on in the secondary schools. So they know this is coming, right? This competency-based curriculum in a couple of years. So is there like discussion underway to anticipate that they may be are they being proactive to create a foundation for that, even though it hasn't been all formally rolled out? Can you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, I know at the moment we are seriously discussing these issues at our level because our biggest challenge now is the infrastructure development required for the new competency-based. We are looking at 2023, where we will be having a kind of double intake, and this will happen for 2 years after 2023. This is where we will be having the students who are following the current 844 system joining Form 1, and we will be also having the new students with the CBC curriculum coming into secondary school at grade 6. This, we are talking of about 3-point-something million students going to join secondary. So the challenge that we are facing now is not necessarily the preparation of the syllabuses to be used. But what is mind-boggling is, will we have developed the infrastructure ready to accommodate the double numbers we are taking? For example, if I look at our school, on averagely, we take about 460 Form 1 students. So in 2023, I will be taking those 460 Form 1s and a similar number of those who will be joining junior secondary. So I'm talking of about 920 students. Will I have developed the infrastructure that is necessary to accommodate these two sets of students? Discussions are underway on how will some schools be able to share the infrastructures. For example, those that are housed with the primary schools together in the same compound, will they be able to make use of the created space in the primary class section, so that that space can be used by junior secondary? Those are discussions that are going on at the moment. You have heard about discussions that primarily we would like the junior secondary to be day school. It is not a must, they should. But the proposals the task force gave was we would wish junior secondary to be predominantly day school. Why? Because we were looking at the age of the children. Remember, they are in grade 6, which is about standard 6. They'll be about 11 years, 10, 11 years. These are pretty young boys and girls who still require close attention from their parents. And if some have to move and get into a boarding school where they'll be staying with much older students, that would be a challenge to them. That's why the task force was proposing let junior secondary school be predominantly day. Of course, there are those who started arguing, are you locking them out of some of our premier schools, like the Alliances, State House Girls, those premier schools that people know of. Would we be locking them because these are predominantly boarding schools? So that is what the discussion that is still going on at the moment. I know already we have come up with the ways of identification of the children who will be able to join the various junior secondary, because at the moment students are placed based on the KCPE exams when they go. And with the CBC, remember, examinations are not there. Then the question is, how will we be able to place? Of course, this has been discussed for those teachers on the platform now. I would encourage them to look at the task force report that was chaired by Professor Fatma Chege, and it spells out very clearly the criteria that will be used in placing these students.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ndimuli, for that forward look, right, in the years ahead to roll this competency-based curriculum out, to cultivate, right, what we're talking about, character, creativity, and similar kind of competencies. So we've reached the end of our webinar. I really want to thank very much Mrs. Annie, Mrs. Wanjala, Mr. Ndimuli, for your really great insights, wisdom, experience. And we want to hear from you a lot more in the future. This conversation will be ongoing for sure. I'll hand it over now to my good colleague Lillian to wrap up our webinar with a few other points. Lillian, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Divine, for taking us through those two sessions. To our participants, I will just run one last poll for the day. And then before we end our meeting, I would request all of us to participate. The poll will be up for 25 seconds or so. Kindly participate in the poll. What did you most gain from the Zoom meeting? Initially, we asked what our expectations are. So let's say whether our expectations have been met. Most people wanted to learn about innovative solutions, deep understanding of concepts, and gain new knowledge. But then again, I see learned about innovative solutions is what most people have gained. I will end the poll and then here are the results. This is what most of us have gained. And I want to believe this will carry a long way from this in our work. So I will stop sharing the poll here, and maybe just to remind all of us that this is our 9th edition. We've done 8 editions before this, and we will continue having such editions, and we will keep in touch. We'll share materials from our emails and our social media platforms. This series today was streamed on our YouTube channel. You can still go there and be able to view that. We will continue in this conversation as Dr. Divine has noted. We look forward to seeing you all in our future series. Thank you.
Annie, just one more thing I just want to share with everyone. So we have the Global Peace Foundation, we have our Global Peace Convention, which is our largest convening. We do this every 2 years. It's going to be August 9th to the 15th. It will be all virtual this year because of the pandemic. And we will be continuing this topic, right, of transforming education. We will be having a number of regional forums, and the Africa Regional Forum will be on Wednesday, August the 11th. So this is a save the date notification, and keep in good contact with us. Check our websites. We'll give you a lot more details as we move forward in the days and weeks ahead. So save the date, August the 11th, for the Africa Regional Forum, which is focusing on education. The convention itself will be dealing with peace building issues, youth, women's issues, also, transforming whole nations, even many religious freedom issues, many things like this. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all very soon again. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to our great panel. Thanks to all our participants.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you too.
Bye-bye.